Welcome to Straight Talk.
When I'm sad, all I need is a place that feels like home. When the trauma of childhood rises up on me just like a storm. When it feels like the universe is crashing down and all joy and courage nowhere to be found, I won't bury it in my soul. God, I won't bury it in my soul. I thank God He didn't let me bury it in my soul. So don't you bury it in your soul. Bury it in your soul. Bury it in your soul. Bury it in your soul.
If my good morning, everybody. It is Straight Talk Food for the Soul. This is your host, Minister Claudette Hutchinson, and my administrator just let me know that I was muted. I wasn't paying attention, y'all. But I've been promising y'all new guests all year, and we've been doing it. And the young lady that I'm bringing on, I've been watching her on TikTok for a minute. So I'm gonna pray us in, and then we're gonna bring our guest up. Father, in Jesus' name. Lord, we thank you. God, we praise you and we honor you. God, if you would be in the room with us today. God, if you would bless our guest, touch her mind, her body, and her soul, God, and give her strength to continue to fight the journey. And God, if there's anybody that needs to hear her story, God, help her to articulate what she wants the audience to know. But God, most of all, we want to give you honor. And we want to give you glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
good, good. So, first thing we want to do, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media, and then we're going to get started.
Sure. So my name is Renee, and I'm currently on TikTok as my Nigerian husband from Italy. That's the page that got this whole thing started. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram at Being Renee.
Okay. Now, I've been watching you on TikTok for a minute. And when I reached out to you, ooh, yeah, I guess it was the beginning of the year. You weren't quite ready for this journey yet. So I had been just praying for you. And then I just sent a message, just checking on you. And all of a sudden, you said you were ready. Okay, tell me why you're ready to tell your story now.
Um, I I think I was ready. I'm ready now because I've entered the healing part of my journey. When I first started telling my story on TikTok, I was coming from a place of deep pain and brokenness. Like I just felt like there were so many things happening, and um, in reflection, I think I was telling that story defensively. Um, where I am now, although I'm still in, I feel like I'm in the eye of the storm as I'm just in the process of having, going through the process of getting my marriage annulled, etc. Um, I feel that I can look back reflectively and maybe share more than I could have when you first reached out to me.
Okay, we're going to go back because at some point this was a good journey for you at
Yeah.
some point. And I'll share with you, I've been divorced twice. I was married to an American and it still turned out terrible. But I have 10 amazing children from my journey. I have about 9 grandchildren, one on the way, will make number nine.
Oh wow.
But I got some amazing things from it. So I'll say, even though the marriage didn't work, I got some good stuff from it. So I know from the beginning it had to be amazing at first. So tell me where you met him.
So I actually met, so this is my second husband, actually. I was previously married to the father of my two children, and we were divorced a few years prior to meeting my now husband. So at the time I met him, I was just in a place of, I guess, discovery, like just casual. I met him online. And it was in the midst of watching the 90 Day Fiance, you know,
That used to be
sagas.
one of my favorite shows. That's why I'm laughing.
And I remember I was literally sitting on my cousin's couch and watching the show, and I thought, oh, it would be interesting to meet someone far away in a different country, And I went on I think it was a dating app. It was like an international dating app. Um, and I again, in retrospect, I think that this was more of a the farther away the better. So I just thought, hey, and yeah, so I went on this app and I met a few different people, and he was one of them. And he, interestingly, I had excluded the entire continent of Africa. I had excluded the entire continent of Africa in the choices of places where I wanted to meet someone from. And so he happened to be in Italy. I didn't realize that at the time that he was Nigerian. Um, and anyway, so I was talking to different people and we just sort of hit it off. And eventually we would chat regularly. Um, and it kind of moved from the casual chatting to the point where I came off of the app. Both of us came off of the app, and we were just exclusively speaking to one another.
Okay. I've been on a date nap. My kids, they be like, Ma, stop. Ma, stop. And I've met some frogs. I ain't joking. And so happened one of the frogs was African. And he wanted to marry me, all this stuff, but it was just something. And one day, I had lost my uncle and I had to preach his funeral. My godson, who was 2 years old, shot himself by mistake, and I had to preach his funeral. And this is just a couple. This is just like this is recent. This on a year, under over a little over 2 years. And when I was telling him all my trauma, because I was feeling heavy, he said, "You just don't have a man on top of you with sperm in you." So automatically, we're on FaceTime, and I'm like, looking like, so
Right.
automatically, I just like, because we usually eat breakfast and lunch together on FaceTime because he lives in another state. I hurry up and got off the phone because I might blow the gasket at that moment. And once I calmed down, I texted him because he worked that night. And I said, we need to have a conversation more. If he called me back, I'm Caucasian and I weigh 100 pounds, which we all know I don't weigh 100 pounds and I'm not Caucasian. Because he knew it was over. So it's just something. I don't say all Nigerians, I don't say all of any nationality, but he just had an arrogance about himself.
Mm.
So, did you notice anything about him while y'all were just chatting?
At the beginning, no. It was actually the opposite, which is why I find now so surprising. But yeah, in the beginning, I tell you, I at the time I traveled extensively for work. Um and I was on the road. I was busy. I had a lot going on, like, in life. I had my children were still young. Um and so he was just always present. He was kind. He would check on me. Like, the way I felt most of the time, I felt unappreciated, mom of two kids. Like, it was just busy on the road. It was go, go, go. So there was nobody that was really ever checking on me. So when at that time, it was so refreshing to have someone that would literally, how are you? How was your day? Have you eaten? Like, the questions that now tend to be so kind of roll your eyes, oh, brother, love bombing. It at that time was exactly what I needed, to know that there was somebody on another part of the world. And it was Italy, which was one of my favorite places. It still is one of my favorite places. So I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt appreciated. And this was at a point when we were still just friends, because it wasn't until 3 months in that I finally decided to make my first trip to Italy, right? One of the 6 trips I eventually made. So at that point, there was not a flag in sight.
Okay. Is there an age difference between you and him?
Yes. So I'm currently 52. At the time I met him, I guess that was like 8 years ago. I guess it was 43, 44, 40, whatever it is. I think, yeah, I was in my early 40s when I first met him. And he was like, he had just, I think he was 30, 31 at the time. I remember on his profile, actually he was 30, because on his profile, I remember when he first kind of liked my pic, I thought, oh, he's cute, but he's young. Like, he's too young. Yeah, I was 43. He was 30. And yeah, but then so there was this age gap. And although that was initially my thought, it never became a problem moving forward until he started using it against me at the end. But we're not there yet. So, but yeah, at the beginning, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and I just recently I started dating a younger guy. Now I'm 60. He was 44. Now this is recent, like
Mhm.
4 months recent. And I think his immaturity came out really quickly, but the way I found out his maturity, I heard a pastor tell me, make sure you bring them around your community as soon as possible so that
Mm.
your community that you trust can help weed them out. So he was
Mm.
around. My daughter was like, "Ma, why you bringing around us so quick? I don't want to meet nobody unless they gonna stay." And now I got adult kids too, and I was like, "Well, I in my heart I knew why." And I mean, less than
Mm.
4 months. He
Yeah.
was out the door. So I didn't get a chance to be by myself alone to fall.
Mhm.
My heart didn't get a chance to fall. So, and even my girlfriends at church and some of the quiet ones, one of the quiet ones, when We were talking one day after church, and she was like, she calls me Nana. She was like, Nana, I don't think he's for you. And I was like, what? Who? Rose said something? Now I was like, really? Okay, now if she said something, she don't say nothing. Let me open my eyeballs. And what really got me, and this is, it's going to be petty, but he would come to church every
Mm.
weekend. He would buy him breakfast and he would come sit in my office, but he would never buy me breakfast.
Hmm.
That's what I said.
Like
After
not
about
even
the
a coffee, not a tea, nothing.
not even a biscuit. And
Mm.
he would sit at my desk while I was doing whatever I was doing. And he would just be enjoying his meal. And I was like, something. And
Something
I was like,
considerate.
something ain't right. But the last time he did that, I literally said, you've never offered to bring me breakfast.
Mm.
The next time he brought it, he was like, did I do good? Right then, I said, he's too young for me. Because right
Mm.
then, it's like, and I need to be affirmed. But he
Mm-hmm.
needed it so quickly. I
Right.
mean, I think you should have did it because you cared for me, not because I told you to do it.
Right.
So
Right.
was there any, so he was affirming you. He was checking
Yes.
on you. He
Yes.
was, and that made you feel cared for.
That made me feel cared for. It made me feel appreciated, but it was also what I realized is that he was an escape for me.
Hmm.
So it was, being able to talk to him and it took me out of my day to day, all of the things that I had to deal with, like co-parenting, my schedule, traveling, work, all this stuff. Like he was my breath of fresh air at that time. Um, and also, there was such a difference in our experiences. Like I was fascinated by him and his life because early into, I would say within the first month of our communication, I realized again that one, he was Nigerian because we didn't waste time in terms of communicating on video because I remember after talking to him for maybe about a week or 2 weeks or whatever, I just one day I was like, flip on your camera because I wanted to know if he really was who he said he was. So we kind of did the whole looking at each other through the camera, this and that. And we kind of burst out laughing, especially after he told me he was Nigerian. Because in the beginning, I just assumed that he was living in Italy because I didn't know what the backstory was. I didn't understand a lot of um, what was going on in terms of like the migrants traveling over there by, the desperate situations to leave their country, traveling across the Sahara Desert from different parts of Africa to, get in one of those, risk their lives to cross over to Europe. As God is my witness, had no clue. Or if I had ever heard anything about that, it wasn't something that was in my consciousness when it came to speaking about him. So when he began sharing bits and pieces about why he was in Italy and what his situation was there, I was fascinated because I was thinking to myself, what what kind of situation would cause someone to risk their life to go travel to another part of the world like that? And so he would share stories about that, and as he was talking, he would show me around wherever he was in Italy, and so it just became like this exciting conversations. I would share about my life, he would share about his life, and then I eventually began thinking, oh my gosh, now I know someone in Italy, I'm going.
Let me ask a question. So you said it was an escape for you. So now thinking back, because I know I was married, but I was single too. And even in my marriages, I was single because we had a lot of kids. And my biological children's father worked two jobs the whole 17 years we were married. So he'd be gone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So my children had end up being my escape. I kind of turned, made them my life. Our house was Six Flags. We turned it into Coney Island. And then we had one too. So everybody came to our house. Do you think now that you use them for escape, is that something you won't do the next go round? Because let me ask you first, just because of this, do you think you'll not get another relationship?
No, no. Um I believe in love. I This will never change. It won't change whether I will date another African, Nigerian. I'm not scarred because of, well, I won't say I'm not scarred. I'm not, it's not going to take away, because I realize that this is a him thing. This is not a love thing. This is unfortunately, um, I chose the wrong person, and I it happened this way. So I will date again. I will love again. I don't know if I'll get married again. Maybe, maybe not, but I still believe in love. Um,
I'm glad you said that
yeah,
you will not let this just turn you away from love.
no,
This
not
that's
at all.
amazing. Well, one of my messy grandchildren is walking in, so if you hear some noise,
Oh, that's
he
okay.
just
My son has been already. I warned him before I came on. He was like tiptoeing.
because I've had because my second former spouse was my best friend when I was
Mm,
young. He was my protector when I was 14. So when he came back and found, well, what are you looking for, honey? I have no look in my purse. I have they hanging up downstairs. I'm so sorry. He's looking for
it's
my
okay.
car keys. We're into our new house this weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, you got a lot
And
going on.
yes, we do. If you could see this, if you could, my studio looks really cute, but if you can see what's around it, but yeah,
Hmm.
I was married to my best friend from childhood,
Mhm.
and I loved him then, but he was dating my best friend. And back in
Oh,
the day, we didn't date each other's best friends. We didn't do that. But she was
mhm.
cheating. So I was watching him for her so he wouldn't cheat while she was cheating. We'll just say it that way. So we end up spending so much time together. And one day he just disappeared because he thought he wasn't good enough for me because my family did have money. So he thought he
Mhm.
wasn't good enough for me. So he just left. But after my
Mhm.
second divorce, his brother saw me in the mall and he was like, that's who you should have married, Claudette. She got six little kids now.
Mm.
And he came to my grandmother's house and left a card in the mailbox. And she wasn't speaking to me at the time, but she did, make sure that I got the message.
Yeah.
And we were married for an amazing 9.5 years. But I never, and my kids like, Ma, you ought to be tired of this. You gotta be. And I just know my covenant partner's there. I know he's somewhere. I just need to be in the right position, healed, um, with a good mindset and good energy and in the right place at the right time. So I'm
Yeah.
so happy that you said this hasn't scarred you. But I was really shocked that you said that you might could date another Nigerian if
Well, yeah, yeah, like, meaning in the sense that he is not a representative of the entire, and I deal with this type of conversation so regularly where I think a lot of people probably expect me to be like, I will never date another, you know, Nigerian or African ever again. That's not it. As a matter of fact, I have met some, because of this experience, I've met some really amazing people that I probably would have never opened my eyes to before. Um, and so my first husband and the father of my children, he's born in he's Canadian, and his background is Caribbean, just like my parents who raised me. They're from Trinidad, and I was adopted, so I was adopted as an infant, and so my biological parentage is rooted in the deep South. Like, my bio mom, who's now passed, she was born in Lakeland, Florida. My grandfather was a veteran, is a veteran. I have very deep roots in the United States of America once I connected with them later in life, because I didn't find out I was adopted until I was like 18. So anyway, my parents who raised me are from the West Indies. My children's father has that parentage as well. And so I had never really, before him and even the other like boyfriends I had throughout my life, I've always had good relationships, good men. Nothing, I can't complain about any of them, especially now compared to what I've been through in this experience. I could never complain about them. We've had problems, like obviously I'm divorced my children's father and we have our clashes. But he's been a great father, ever present in his children's lives. He's a legal lawyer. Funny enough, I consult him now as I'm moving through this annulment process. So, we're cool. So I don't let this scar me in that way. It scarred me in other ways, but not in the way of me judging an entire country or continent based on this negative experience with somebody who is rotten to the core. Just a
We have
horrible
a lot.
human being.
We have a lot in common. I'm
Yeah.
West Indian. My family is from St. Thomas. So
Oh, really?
yes, my
Oh my
biological
God.
family is from St. Thomas. My maiden name is Mulgrave, so that's where my family originates from. So that was
Okay.
another good thing I learned about you today.
Wow.
Um, uh, I'm glad it didn't scar you. Um, but the question it just keeps. This has been nagging me. Um, that I want to say this just right. You're going through the annulment process. How are you going through this? This might not even be none of my business. But when you go through the annulment process, don't that mean you haven't had sex?
This is a great question. No, no, no. So,
I'm
oh no,
sorry.
no, 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 no. We've had plenty of that. But but no, no, no. Um, and I'm learning about this too myself. Um, there are grounds for an annulment. And so in the church, annulments are rare. It's not it's not something that's common. And there have to be specific grounds for annulment, and it depends on the state that you're in. It depends on the reasons for it. So I'm pursuing it based on fraud. I'm pursuing it based on the grounds is that my consent to the marriage was obtained through fraud. It was obtained by the the amount of facts that were omitted and misrepresented at the time I got married, that's what I'm basing my arguments on for the annulment. So that's what an annulment is. A lot of people think, oh, an annulment. Well, if you've been married for this amount of time, and it has, that's not what this is based on. It's based on the grounds, and those are the grounds that I'm basing my particular annulment on. There's some people, like, if you're married within a certain amount of time and the person is underage, or they don't have the capacity, they were drunk at the time, or they they lied about being able to have children. Like, there's all these different grounds for an annulment. It becomes an issue of you being able to present them, because it's a legal process. So you being able to present the evidence to back your pursuit of that particular way of dissolving your marriage. Yeah.
So, how many years did you date prior to marriage?
So two. So we met so my first trip to Italy was in 2018. Um, like I said, I traveled there six times over the course, 6 times within 4 years. The first 4 years before he actually came to the United States. And so my first trip we met in 2018, basically. My first trip was in October of 2018. And then my second trip, I snuck back like in December, because, I was co-parenting at the time. So, and what's funny about it is my ex-husband was actually was the one who drove me to the airport, because we share custody of my kids. And that year, my parents had taken my kids to Costa Rica on like this big trip. So I was basically sitting at home. The kids were gone. It was after Christmas. My ex is off doing his thing, and I was like, I'm going to Italy, right? So I went back to Italy in December of 2018. And then my third trip was in May of 2019, fourth trip, December of 2019. And then in the midst of COVID in 2020, that's when we got married. And that was my fifth trip. And then my sixth trip was in 2021 for our 1-year anniversary. And by that time, we had already been processing the paperwork for 2 countries, was the US and Canada. And I went back there to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. So, and then a few months later, because that was in like, say, August, September of 2021. And then by April of 2022, he was here in the United States.
But
So,
did y'all live together while he was here in the United States?
so no, so what happened, like I said, my kids and I are in Canada, and they're with so I ended up moving back home with my parents, because both of my kids were diagnosed with epilepsy. And we were living on our own. And so it was just easier. We rented out like the property where I was staying. And I moved back home because my mom's a retired registered nurse. And she was able to, my parents have been, I don't know where I'd be without them. Without my family, I have no idea where I'd be. And what's so interesting is, like, now, years later, like, my mom, she's elderly, and there's a lot of things happening. So I'm now able to kind of help her. We help each other. Like, it's not always ideal, but I am so grateful, because I could have never gotten through all of this with my kids, with him, without the support of my family. So
I think it is ideal because I live with my children.
yeah.
I got sick in 2023, and I thought I had Just thought I had a cold. Ended up having pneumonia, yellow jaundice, shingles, blood pressure, everything bottomed out. And my kids like, "Mom, you gotta get rid of your house. Come stay with her." And I think it's an ideal situation that your parents can be, live with your children. And we live amicable together. They have 3 children. My son-in-law, I get along with really, really well, and he happens to be my pastor. So, I think as Americans, we don't think it's ideal, but I know other
Yeah.
nationalities bring their elderly together and they live with them. When I was a child, I'm from New York originally. I
Mm,
never knew what a daycare was, and I never heard of a nursing home as a child because all the older aunties and grandmas moved in. And when we would be coming home from school, the grandmas would be saying, "You better get your behind home or I'm going to get you." So we always saw the elderly at home with their families. So I think it's an
yeah.
ideal situation. And I'm glad you had your parents that raised you because I wasn't, and we have something else in common. I wasn't raised by my parents. I met my
Okay.
mom 36 years ago. She passed last year,
Mm,
but 36 years ago when my daughter was 6 months old, and she's 36 now. So yeah, and we were friends. She never became my mom, but we were friends. We were friends. Yeah. So
yeah.
and I've lost her as well. So we have a lot of in common. I think after
Yeah.
this, I think
Yeah.
we should talk more. We look like we have a lot that
Yes,
we can walk each
definitely.
other through.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
let me get put my glasses on. I got questions. All those other questions just on the top of my head,
Sure.
but let me get my notebook. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would
Absolutely.
you ever tell somebody that it wasn't wise to marry outside of the United States?
No, I would not say that. I would say what I would say, and that has changed over the course of even the last few months, because some of these questions I would have never even thought of or know how to answer, or the way I started out answering them is different. Um, I wouldn't tell someone not to, but I would say I have learned the value of having citizenship in two countries like the United States and Canada. And although we might not view it in a way, um, I would say I would say be careful being able to delineate between whether someone is choosing you based on what benefit they can gain from you versus love, because I think that's what I overlook. um I have always just tried to believe in love and say, oh, love, oh, like I movies, those love stories in Italy. And I was just like this, we got married in Rome and like it was just a fairy tale kind of thing. Um, but I didn't realize the underlying aspects of survival that I was dealing with him, that somebody could play the long game and wear a mask and like literally not be the person that they said they were. Because I believe that if somebody can look you in the eye, it's different with your kids because they're kids, they're going to lie to you. But marriage is a covenant. And to enter into the covenant of marriage, knowing that you're lying, knowing that what you're building is based on lies, and you intend to deceive this person who is who has, like, he's not coming from, we were not equally yoked, okay? And I wasn't trying to save him from anything. Like, yes, I had compassion for him and his circumstances, but everything I did, I was doing it out of love. And I genuinely believed, I knew we weren't in the same kind of, like, okay, I've got all this and you've got all that. But I believed that it would stabilize at some point. Like, once he got to America, once I get him out of this horrible situation that he's in, and he can be the man. He would always say to me, that, you wait, when I get to America, you're gonna see, you're gonna be so proud. Like, it sounds funny, but he was just like, he just wanted to be stable. He just wanted to show that, okay, once he got stabilized, everything would be fine, and life would be great. We had all these plans. We talked about flipping homes, like, um, in Italy, like he would, we just had all these plans. We had a shared vision for our future, a shared vision for our lives, um, what it would be like. Like, we're both very ambitious, or, well, I thought we were both on the same, like, the things that we talked about, we were united in that vision. I didn't know how it would all work out, but I just knew that all that we really needed to do was just, once he got here, we'd figure the rest out. My life wasn't perfect. Like, it was up and down because, like I said, my kids had developed epilepsy in 2020. I was living at home. I was traveling back and forth for work. But it was like the goal was just to get, once he got here, we'd figure the rest out. Um, and that's not what happened. Because once he got here, um, everything changed. A lot of things changed. And so those 4 years before he got here they were beautiful. I did not live. I would visit Italy. The last 2 trips, I stayed for a month each time. So, and on every trip, the beauty of, like, the work, I was working in clinical research. So if I wasn't traveling, I was home, and I could do a lot of the work remotely. Like, um, COVID changed a lot in terms of how I would like, the type of work I was doing, and I was a lot of chart review and things like that. So I just had to, like, figure it out. I could always work from wherever I was. That wasn't an issue as long as I didn't have a trip planned. So I was able to do that, and so when I'd be there, it was great. Like, there was nothing that stuck out for me until he got here.
Now, I've
So,
seen on your TikTok, I've seen the videos y'all made when you were there, when y'all were taking pictures. Y'all, he seemed like he was in love with you. It just, and somebody, and I guess the sad part is that if somebody, and I've been manipulated in a relationship before. So that's something I understand, that somebody look you in the eye, say, I love you, would become your safe place and know that they have ulterior motives, and know that you carry, if you have a purpose in life, I carry a lot on my shoulders. And you could lie, and you know all that I have. I have a sick child.
to
When
say,
this person did this, my child
oh,
was,
okay, okay, for you,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. When
yeah.
when my child has 12 different illnesses, she's an adult now, but she had 12 different illnesses, and you could lie and promise the world, and it come crashing down, And it's not just me, it came crashing down on. My children loved you. So now I got to watch them go through pain. They're watching me go through pain, and I can't help them because I'm in pain. So
That part.
I get it.
That part.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the hardest thing is to um watch your children watch you, and you don't have, like, I'm the parent, right? Like, I'm supposed to be the one, like it often hurts, like it still does, because I know they know what I'm going through. And even when they were younger, like, um I didn't have a lot, like, even though my family supports me, loves me, they accepted this because they loved me. They didn't accept it because they thought, "Oh, we're happy that you're doing this." It was more like, "I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and like nobody could tell me nothing. I'm a grown woman. Like, this is my second marriage. If I want to get married." And so to have everything come crashing down, and for them to be right, for them to have been right, um, is really was really it's like cake on your face. Like, okay, fine. Um, so yeah, and to watch my kids watch me be humiliated, um was just, it's embarrassing. It's been really embarrassing. um and I say embarrassing because of the added embarrassment that he has put on me as well, with the cruelty toward the end, like when when he yeah, that added cruelty is what has made it worse. So those are the things that I have had to heal through with my kids, because I've had to be very transparent with them. Like, it is what it is. Um, Especially when all of this started at the time when, you had reached out to me initially, like with all of the hate and the criticism and the judgment and the mocking and the taunting. I've had my daughter, like, in the car with me. There was one time we were in the car and there was somebody talking about me on a live, and she was like, "I'm going on this," and she was like on the phone, like, she's 19, she's 18 now, so she's grown. But it's like, this is not something that I necessarily would have chosen. But yeah, it's strengthened us. But it's also, I can imagine what it feels like for them. I can imagine. It's not their choice.
So let me, and this is not a question I thought I was going to ask, but so your community, they accepted it because they loved you. But did anybody say it's not a good idea?
Yeah.
And you just didn't listen?
No, because what, like, so my mom who raised me, um, she did her nursing in England. Um, and I remember when I told her, like, for the first up until he came, so pretty much for the first 4 years, like, she might say hi to him once or twice when he's on the phone, but I would like hand her the phone and she would like roll her eyes, and he knew this, right? But at that time he was still, um he I it wasn't like, he would still try, like, he'd be like, "Hi, mom," and he would talk, and my dad would say hi. So it took time. But my mom, she did her nursing in England, and she would always tell me, um, you know, I work with the African nurses that I work with always tell me to stay away from these men, that they're bad, that they're this and they're that. So she had her own preconceived notions about African men. And I had no idea what she was talking about because I had never dated or been interested or had any experience with them. But that's just how my mom is. She would always, that's just how she is. So I just took it as another one of her don't do it kind of things, and just, I believed in him. I believed in him. I believed in our love. Um, I would agree with you in that there was a time when I truly did believe that he loved me. Like, you couldn't tell me this man did not love me. You couldn't tell me. I would never believe you. It's that now, after I've seen who he became and how he treated me, there's no way I can look back on those moments without like there's a new lens on, because I know how it ended. So I can't look back on any of those moments and believe that they were real. Because you can't look me in the eye knowing, there was in 2021, and it was only when I was doing my videos for the for my series. That 85-part series was it wasn't pre-planned. I literally did it like looking at my Google Photos, and the story would just evolve as it came through. But I remember when I was doing it in August of 2021, and as I was looking back at the documents and the pictures and all that stuff, I realized that we were sitting there preparing to celebrate our 1-year anniversary, because September 4th, 2020 is when we got married. And I remember August 21st, 2021. We're sitting there. In that very moment, the mother of his 2 boys, which at the time he only told me about 1. It has since come out that there are possibly 4 in total, right? But at that time, I was in Italy, and the mother of the child was at one of those asylum, what do you call it? Wherever tribunals, swearing before them, like trying to get her documentation and swearing that her husband, my husband, is like, because I read her asylum testimony. So I'm saying this to say that she's there before tribunal swearing about all these things, and you're sitting there with me about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. You're eating, we're having fun, going all over Florence, or where were we, in Florence or Cinque Terre, wherever we were. So in retrospect, I'm looking back at these moments, and it's blowing my mind, because I'm like, what kind of human being is sitting down in front of me, eating, celebrating, prancing up and down Italy with me, and the mother of your children is swearing before a tribunal, trying to get documents to stay in Italy? It's mind-blowing to me, mind-blowing. And at that time, he's sitting there lying to me, knowing that there's another child. So let me back up for a second, because what I have discovered by now, is that basically from my first trip to Italy, he was living with the mother of his children.
Wow.
So he was not single. He was living with her in one of those camps. So they were living in the same room. It was a one room, and she was pregnant with the second child. That I did not know the existence of that child until he arrived in America. That child was born in um, July of 2019. And so that entire time he was aware of the pregnancy. So by my second trip to Italy, on my first trip, he was living with her. I didn't know, because when I went there, I was planning, I had my whole itinerary of what I wanted to do for my first trip to Europe, my first trip to Italy. So he came, he met me at the hotel, and off we went. We went on the train. We traveled from Torino to Napoli. I met his friend. We were hanging out, just having a blast. After that trip, on my second trip, he had moved out of that camp with the woman who was pregnant. So he abandoned the pregnant mother of his child. He abandoned her and the child, the first child, the only one that I ever knew about until he arrived to America. He abandoned her and moved in with the friend to Napoli. So by my second trip, I went to see where he was staying, but we didn't plan on staying there long because it was like roughing it. I was like, I'm not doing this, right? I already had a plan. Like we had a car. We went all the way to Venice. Like we did a whole bunch of stuff. So he's now left. He's staying with the friend that I had met on the first trip. Then by my third trip, she was far along, right? Because I went there in May, the child was born in July. And even on that trip, he was trying to get me to come off the pill so that I could, and I think back and I'm just like, oh, thank God. Like, thank God that did not happen, right?
So he was trying to get you, but he wanted to get you pregnant.
Yeah, he did.
Ooh, Jesus.
Oh, and again, putting together the pieces of the story, in 2018, May of 2018, so this was months before I met him, because I met him in about July and my first trip was in October. I only discovered in February that he had already had another child with a different woman in another part of Italy.
Oh my God.
So all of and I would have never known that if I hadn't started sharing my story, because I was reached, a friend of hers reached out to me and told me what was going on and started sending me things, so I was able to verify that this was in fact true. So what ended up happening was, I guess he had been navigating between the two baby moms to see whichever one could get him his documents first, based on children. Yeah.
Jesus.
It's so sordid. So yeah, it's really hard to look back because in retrospect, now I'm seeing the type of individual that I'm dealing with, and he's nothing short of demonic. Like I cannot say anything but that about him now. It's really unfortunate.
You didn't breathe through the conversation. I breathed for you because I
Thank
cannot
you.
imagine being in love with somebody and then somebody off social media reaches out and says these things, and then you find out they're telling the truth and you love this person. Let's emotionally, like during this conversation while we're talking, how is this? Are you okay?
So I am, because this is why I was saying I wasn't even able to talk about much of this at that, because it was all unfolding. This is why I say I'm in the eye of the storm. I love that you said how I got through the storm, because, like I told you before we went live, I don't know that I'm through the storm. I feel like I'm just in the eye of it, because there's still there's still a lot happening. And where I stopped my story, I stopped it because there was no way for me to explain the unraveling that happened from, like, I would say around March of last year, of March of 2025 until now. There's been this unraveling, and it just became worse when in November, when he entered into this relationship. That relationship, and I think the friendship that started with the woman he's with now, probably around September, because I started to notice that he started becoming extreme. Like, he was cruel prior to that, but the cruelty increased. And it's because he had this woman, this pick me, in his ear, like pumping him up, so that he felt like he could begin to treat me anyhow in the process. But it was that level of cruelty, I think, that propelled me into the point where I had to defensively tell my story. It was like, okay, no, like, because then it was two of them. It was the two of them. Um, and so that's the part where I haven't really processed all of it. Um, but that's what pretty much the last year and a half-ish has been. Haven't really been able to talk too much about a lot of what happened to me um, in the last year and a half. But I was able to talk about everything before that.
So wait a minute. I've just, so he's got a woman here in the United States because he's in the United States. And she's believing what he's saying.
She is more than believing what he's saying. She has jumped onto whatever story he has told her about me. This woman, there's a page that people record lives and things like that. So it's actually funny. I go there for my information right now, because I guess she's been on. I remember the live that we were all on. I had gone on that live because I was sharing what was going on, and then the host brought him up with that woman on the live. And this is what really, I think, propelled the whole thing. And so during that live, like, they started flaunting the relationship. She was talking all this stuff about me, you know, and then she announced, or I don't know if she announced, but they were like sending pregnancy tests. So she started posting her pregnancy tests on her page, and he was like, oh, like, so there was a lot of stuff. And as I was sharing, people would send me these things, but there's a page that is now posting like snippets of things that she said. And even like as recent as just before my first court hearing in July, he was online threatening me. I'll share. I'll share some of this stuff with you, but like,
Yeah, please.
it's just,
This is
I'll share some stuff with you. Yeah,
mind
yeah.
blowing. That
It's
Well, slow down for. I got to get my. I got ADD right now. My brain. You're on a live. The host brings him and her up while you're on a live.
So
What was the purpose of bringing them up?
so they heard me on the live, and he was trying to, I guess, show that I had moved on with my life and he's happy with this new woman. He found somebody better than me, because she basically bought him. Like, he would send me videos. Like, it was his birthday's in November. And so I remember he was sending me videos of these expensive colognes. Like, he was on TikTok, I think, for initially. I think he's on private again, but he was originally on TikTok flaunting all these gifts that he got from women, and oh, he's this and that. And then he started sending me videos and this was the first birthday that I had, like, in pretty much 7 years that I had not spent with him. And so coincidentally, I was out with friends. We had done a pajama weekend at an Airbnb. And, I was trying to, like, take my mind off of the fact that I wouldn't be spending his birthday with him for the first time in, 7 years. Or for the, like, acknowledging it. Anyway, so he started sending me the videos of these expensive colognes. He loves cologne, right? And I wouldn't say I spoiled him, even though people looking at the episodes or the series would say, oh, you did this and you did that for him. It was a necessity for him in terms when he was in Italy, because he was in survival there. Once he got to America, I just figured, he's a man, he'll do what he needs to do. So I don't take pride in, like, spoiling a man and doing all this stuff. So he was trying to, like, show me, well, look what I got. And he had these 3 expensive cologne. Like, I would have never in my life bought my man, even though he's my man, even though he's my husband. I'm not buying you 3 bottles of cologne. Like, I don't have it like that, right? So he's flaunting that, and he's opening them, and he's like, see, think I'm lying, see. So he's sending me that. Apparently, she took him on these all expense paid trips to wherever. I think I know one was Denver, because I remember seeing a post about him saying he's in his happy place or something like that. But at the time, I did not know what was going on. Like, he would just send the video, but not show anyone or show who he was receiving these things from. So I'd see him in these new clothes and he's dancing and he's like, but I didn't know who or what. So he's literally on these trips with her, sending me videos of himself in these new clothes. And I'm not understanding what's going on. Then in December, right, he had started asking me to spend New Year's Eve with him. So he's in this new relationship, traveling all over with this woman, and he's asking me to spend New Year's Eve with him. And I'm thinking, I'm like, no, because at this point I had cut off, like, any access. Like, we were no longer intimate. We were just, I had really started cutting him off. And so he's talking about, now he's trying to figure out how about this divorce, right? Now he starts pushing for divorce. And I had already told him, we're not getting divorced. We're getting an annulment, right? I'm like, this is what you did it's wrong. I don't want a divorce. We need to annul this. So he was asking me those things, I believe, because he was trying to reel me back in. And I said no to New Year's Eve. And but I believe that if I had said yes, he would have tried to probably serve me or something. I don't, like, who knows what he had planned. Um, in January, I found out what he had planned, and that I'm not even going to get into that. But let's just say I did go to his apartment in January, and what met me, like, I didn't go inside, but what he had planned for me, I found out what he had planned for me. And it took me 6 months of going to court and all the, like, everything that transpired from that night took me 6 months and multiple court dates to resolve. Let's just put it that way.
And I'm glad you're not saying all of this because you're still going through a legal process and you need to make sure you're clear. So there are certain questions I'll never ask, especially while you're going through this, because we want emotionally, spiritually, naturally, and physically for you to come out of this. There is no way that God is going to let him get away with this. He thinks he's slick, but he's not. And I don't want you to ever try to quantify what you did for him because you loved him. There is no way in the world. When I was dating, and I dated one of my best friends for 4 years, people thought we shouldn't be together, not because he was a bad guy. It's just we were two different kind of people. But I loved him. He loved me. And he spoiled me. I spoiled him. You ain't got to quantify what you did for him. And anybody in your life that makes you feel less of yourself because he did something wrong. You have done nothing wrong other than fall in love with somebody who was faking. And this is not his first time doing this. He's fooled so many. He's had a lot of practice at this. So, of course, by the time he got to you, he knew the right things to say because he'd been doing this. But this is what I'm going to say to the woman of God that I'm looking at. If your community is like, listen, that's why they're your community. Because those are the people that love you most. So, after that statement I just made, because I know every time I've dated now, and dating to me is just collecting data.
That's a good
It's
way
just
of
collect.
saying
I'm just trying to figure out, how I'm gonna get rid of you if you're not right.
it.
And then some of my girlfriends on, and I know they're gonna be calling me after. Um, if you bring somebody around, do you think your friends and family will trust your decision?
I do. I do because I don't I can't say I make these decisions lightly. Like, anyone I've dated, it's not a lot of, like I said, I have had quality men in my life, especially in retrospect when I think of who they have been and the place they've held in my life. When I fall in love, like, if you're in my life, then and I love you, then I love you. So I think it's like, how do I say this? It's not that there's a shortage of men. Like, there are I meet really great people in my life. Falling in love is not easy for me. Having conversations with people is easy. Making friends is easy, but the falling in love part is not easy. But when I fall, I fall. And so I think that's probably what happened, is like, when I bring somebody around and I'm like, this is you can't talk me out of it because for whatever reason, I'm in love with them. Um, so I think when I get to that point where I've fallen in love again with somebody, it's not really a question. It's more of a hope. They'll probably be like, oh God, please let this one please don't let this one do her dirty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, cause yeah, my ex-husband, you know, even when we were going through our stuff, like he's literally like my dad's best friend sometimes. Like he takes care of my parent. Like he's a good, we might not be cool all the time. But he's good to my family. He's good to my kids. He's good to people, everyone around it. It's like we're brother and sister now, um, but he's a good quality person. So I think my family knows that if I bring somebody around, they might be giving them the side eye, but it's more, like I said, it's more of a hope. Let's hope this one doesn't do her dirty, you know?
Yeah. So what are your kids? It's different with your family, your friends, your mom, your dad, but your kids, because they've watched you in pain. They, your daughter heard alive, and they're talking about their mother. Thank God I've not had that experience, because boy, the Lord would have to keep me. I'm, I'm, I'm a
Yeah.
good girl most of the time, but woo, I don't know what I would have did in the car that day. I don't know what I would have said. But do you? What do they be thinking if you bring somebody around? I don't know. You got to wait till the annulment is up, and we're asking the Lord because this is what you desire. So on my prayer petition is that the Lord give you the annulment
Yes.
because you were in
Thank
error.
you. Thank
So,
you.
and a lot of times
I
we
appreciate
say,
that.
yeah, a lot of times we say whatever the Lord's will is, but because you've loved so purely and so honestly, and you had no malice in your heart, we're asking God to give you your heart's desire because you weren't in the wrong. You weren't
Thank
in the
you.
wrong.
I
And I think
appreciate
people
that.
think because you shared your story on social media, why she doing all that? Why she got to do all that? Whatever. And I share my whole entire life on social media.
Mm,
My friends will tell you I'm like clear paper sometimes. You can see right through some if that's what it takes for you. And if you hadn't have done that, I don't think you'd be in the place that you are now. Because when I reached out to you at the beginning of the year, you weren't where you are now.
no. You know, I remember I got a lot of, like, literally my ex's sister. She was so I had like friendships. I can think of two in particular. So one, my ex-husband's sister, and I love her. Like, I love her. She has always been there for me and my kids. And even when things didn't work out between me and her brother, like, we've never had a falling out. And I wouldn't even say that we're falling out now. But she was livid with me when the story came out because I didn't realize it was going viral. Um, but she was angry about, not about me sharing, but about her niece and nephew being in it. Because I shared very openly and I had my kids, and I asked them, I was like, do you guys, is it okay? Like, do you mind? And I remember my son, he was like, well, it wouldn't have been my first choice, but it's okay, mom. And it was like, so I knew that they were okay with it. Um, and once I checked in with them and I knew they were fine with it and they understood what was going on, I was fine. So there was that. And then there was another friend of mine who, there was one video when I had posted, and I swear it was all of 1 second. Like, as I panned around the room, because I was saying I'm with my friends, and I panned around the room, and her face was in like 1 second. And she sent me a message, and she was like, "You need to take that video down. I don't want to be in your video." And I was like, what are we talking? Like, I didn't even know what she was talking about, because I didn't even realize that the 1 second of her was on there. And I was just like, oh my God, like the things that people care about. So for me, I just felt like, you know what? If I've known you pretty much for over 30 years or 20, however many years I've known her, and you're going to get upset because you're in one, not even a second of a video, you're not supposed to be on this journey with me, right? Because out of everything I'm going through, that's what you're going to message me about. So things like that, people's true colors have really shown up in this process, and I've gotten a lot stronger. I've become more resilient as far as being able to just let things roll off my back like water off of a duck's back. And it's just like, say what you want. The comment on lives about, oh, you grandmas and you, I laugh now, because you can't age shame me, right? You can't age shame me. I did not know when I entered this relationship that that this was a thing, that these younger men were targeting women older than them. And yes, I know there's an age gap between us, but it was never noticeable. It never became a thing until it became a thing, until he was trying to twist the narrative and try and justify his behavior and his actions. So I've learned a lot about humanity because of all of this. And not everybody can go through this and come out okay. And so for that, I'm grateful, right? I mean, and whether I'm okay or not remains to be seen. But do you know what I mean? Like, I could still laugh and I could still joke, and I realized that the biggest part of this, the unexpected part, has been the women who've reached out to me and said thank you. The stories that I have heard, the ones I can share versus the ones I cannot share. That is what keeps me going, in terms of, okay, I've come this far and I've already, it's all out there, so I may as well keep going and keep holding the torch for those who are suffering in silence. This is where I found a new purpose, so to speak. I'm actually I was invited to go to Washington, D.C. in September. I was invited to go to Washington, D.C. in September, and I don't know how much I'm supposed to say and not say, but there are things happening that I would have never predicted. I would have never planned or known that there is so much to be done. And I pray that whatever God wants me to do, that I just take each step, because I don't know how to live a spirit-led life. Let's put it that way. I am a planner. I have always had a 3-year, 5-year plan. I knew what I wanted to do when it came to my career, when it came to like the next job, where I wanted to be next. Like, I I've always functioned from planning. So to be in a place where there is no plan, it's evolving, is difficult for me, because I've never lived my life this way, but it's how I'm living right now at the moment.
Take the word difficult out, because words have they have so much meaning, and the devil is the prince of the air. You can say challenging, but God wants you to live a spirit filled life. He wants to be in charge of what you do from this point forward, because this trip is going to help so many people. You don't have to say what it is. We already know this trip is going to open some doors, and the people that love you, that you're going to carry with you. So you just be, you got to open your heart and your mind and your spirit. God, whatever you do, I'm going to ride the ride with you. And this is something I've just started doing, because I have so many dreams and goals. So much, so much. I got a book about to come out, me and my daughter are writing. Got to figure out the money, how to do it. But I said, God, I surrender every dream, every desire. I surrender and I lay it at your feet. If I do that, he'll make the funds come available. But I'm saying it, but then I got to start believing. Start believing. So it's a process of getting there. God's going to do it for you. So you can live, you can still plan. Baby, I got
Mhm.
boards and little sticky notes, and you can still plan, but surrender the plan to God. So, God, this is my plan, but what are you planning for me? See, that's
Yeah.
how and then you and him get on the same page. And then when the volume of your own voice is turned down, you'll start hearing what he wants you to do. So you
Yeah.
can do this. I know. Ooh, and I can't wait for you to call me on the phone and say, girl.
Well, it's like the predictability of life. Like, I think I've always lived inside the box. Like, I've colored in the between the lines. I never realized I could draw my own picture. Like, I've dabbled here and there. I've done a bit of this and a bit of that, but I always had my very stable, predictable life. Right. I think that's why I loved and have worked in, like, the sciences for so long, because it's defined. Like, research is a very, it's a regulated industry. It's just so, I have always been stayed in that arena. So anyway, the predictability of life is what's missing right now. I can't predict anything at this moment.
I am so glad that you came on. I mean, this has been a long journey for me and you.
Mm.
I said, God, when it's time, she'll come. And I've been watching your lives, and I'll just scroll through and look at your videos, and I was like, and now and watching the videos with him and you, and I was like, if I meet somebody, I'm like, it made me take a second look to see maybe this person isn't who I think this person is. So your journey of pain helps some of the ladies say, take a second look and make sure that you're seeing what you're really seeing.
Yeah.
So, and God gives people pain because he knows that we'll do something with it. So you got to turn it around, and it's a good cry. When you get off here, get you a good cry out.
There's no shame in my, sometimes, like, even before I came on, I was like, okay, Renee, please, like, because I'm not ashamed of crying, I see emotion as like clouds. Um, it moves and I move with it. And so if I have to wipe my eye, like, I'm fine. Um, but yeah, there's so much, like there's just so much that we move through and that we live through, and that we go through in our lives. And so the resilience of women, and especially women who've shared with me, I cannot tell you what we carry on our back. And you know it. And so there's sometimes where women, someone will be talking and they flip through all these things that have happened to them, and they're like, yeah, and then this happened to me, and then the building fell on my head, and then I picked up my crutch and I kept and you're like, wait, what? You just said what just happened to you? Like, can you stop for a minute? Did you just hear what you just said you lived through? So I think that we just carry so much on us, and that's why I can never tire of hearing, like, there's something about our lived experiences that they're just so rich, and they're so meaningful, and they're so important. They're so important to share. So yeah. I don't think this will be our last conversation. To be honest with you, this is only the second time I've done like where I sit down and I've had to pull it all together like this. I did this once before. This is only the second time, and I don't really do it often. I might share parts, bits and pieces, but to have to sit and pull it all together has been, I appreciate you. I appreciate that it was you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah.
Now you gonna make
Yeah.
me cry. I've been like keeping it together. I've
What?
been, keep, I've been keeping it together.
Why?
I've been keeping it together. Oh my God. I've really been keeping it together. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I, I hope this isn't, I hope we become long time friends.
Of course.
I hope we become long time friends. Um,
Yeah.
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 I think you should hang your shingle once all this is done and
Mm.
become an amazing life coach.
I'm always like, I am not a coach. I am not an
Um,
expert. That
uh,
is one, that is honestly, yeah, I say that because I don't know how to define myself really. But thank you. Thank you. I don't know that it's I don't know that I would be a coach. Um, I don't know. I don't know what I would call myself, but yeah, I guess I'll figure it out.
yeah. So I'm thanking everybody who popped on, who came to see us have our conversation. Thank you for all my girlfriends that always hang out with me. I'll send you the link so you could share it with your friends and
Thank
family
you.
so they could go back. You could put it on your TikTok, wherever you want to share it.
Oh,
But just keep me abreast. And if you just need prayer, just send me a text. Send
thank
me a text.
you.
It
Thank you
doesn't
for
matter what.
doing what you do.
Oh, and
Seriously. No,
believe it.
I am so serious. No, when you started and you were playing the trailer and you were showing all of those images, and I can't remember what, first of all, the song that you used, okay, I need my Kleenex because the song you used for the post you made about me, that song alone started making me cry before I even came on here. I'm a mess. Oh my God. And then when you were doing the trail, like your trailer at the beginning, and I was just like, wow, like the things that we live through, and always encouraging others to just keep on going. It makes a big difference. So thank you. Thank
Believe it or
you.
not, I wrote the song for my trailer, and my amazing friend Carlton Pitts sang the song for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see? Look at the gift.
It's
Oh my God.
yeah, and it took a lot. He did some stuff to it, but yeah, I wrote the song, and he's an amazing singer. He's an amazing singer. So if you need somebody, Carlton
I'm
Pitts is the man. He's the man.
I'm telling you. I know
Um,
where to find you.
yes, and believe it or not, I was saying my team and some of my kids, I was saying this might be the last year for Straight Talk because this will be 6 years. And they was like, God
Mm,
didn't say that.
exactly.
They was like,
Exactly.
and for the last 3 weeks, every time somebody comes on, it's just in my head. It's not over. So, to all
Not.
my lovely friends and family, the Lord didn't say to end it. And just talking to you just quantified in my brain. And I think sometimes when you're tired and you're going through different stages, because I've been really sick the last 6 months. I think my
Mm,
sickness, I was allowing my sickness to talk,
mhm.
and I wasn't letting the Lord lead me. So thank
Right.
you. Thank
Well,
you.
because sometimes we don't know our impact. Like maybe, you know, some an encouraging word or realizing that, do you know the impact of what it is that you do? Do you know how much a smile can make a difference in a person's life? Um, Even with, like, as my mom is aging and she's going through different stages of what, she's dealing with right now, it's like having someone pop over and say hello. I'm saying all of this to say that the impact of what you do you may not hear it all the time, but it should not be forgotten. And so I'm going to remind you then. I'm going to be your reminder that no, maybe it's not time for you to pack up your you might be moving, but it doesn't mean that you pack up the studio and it doesn't reopen. So, yeah.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I honor you for rendering your gift tonight.
Thank
Rendering it.
you.
And for everybody that came on. And Renee, your friend said, good job. Your friend,
Oh, I'm like seeing some little things popping up in
yeah.
the on there. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
So I promise I'll send the link tonight
Okay.
for you. But I love you already. You are my covenant
Ooh.
sister.
Oh,
And no matter what the time, hour. And my girlfriends that are on tell you it I don't sleep when I know one of my sisters is
yeah.
in a journey. We're not
Yeah.
gonna stay in trouble in a journey.
In a
So
journey.
we're gonna ride the ride out with you. So
Yes. And
you
I need that. I need that, and the women that are forming as we build community. We need people like you who, just can hold space, right? For it's not many people can do that. Um, and I'm not trained in anything. I'm not a minister. I'm not a coach. I'm not a therapist. But what I know for sure is there's a space I can hold. Um, and I don't know. I just maybe need to figure out. But sometimes that's all people need is just to be heard.
yeah.
Just to be heard. So yeah.
So we're
Thank
gonna
you.
say good night,
Okay.
everybody. And this is another episode of Straight Talk Food for the Soul. We love y'all. Have an amazing weekend. Good night, everybody.
Good night.